It's time for the one and only, the premier, the only official podcast of ProRodeo. Your Chute Bosses are ready, so let's give it a go and talk some rodeo.
Hello everyone, and welcome back into another episode of the Chute Bosses, the official podcast of ProRodeo. It's Tanner and Tracy, we got a little bit of a different look. We get some fresh blood here in the office. Switch things up a little bit here on the Chute Bosses.
We're professionals now. We're the A-team. We got some good equipment in here. I'm excited.
I think you still got some room to work there before I slap that title on you, Trace. No, I'm just kidding. But as you can see, we kind of got a new setup here. We'll have a bunch of great things coming your way here on the show. We're going to sit down and chat with JC Yeahquo. He'll have, a lot to talk about because he's number one in the world right now. Tracy, a guy that has never made the NFR, and now he sits atop the mountaintop right now as we head into the month of May.
Yeah, he's roping with Buddy Hawkins. He obviously wins Rodeo Houston, gets a $50,000 check. And, I mean, he saw the progression last year. It was getting close, and then you get a big lick like you did in Rodeo Houston, and all of a sudden he's right square in the mix to make the NFR. I mean, he's atop the standing. So it's just exciting to see guys have that opportunity to make that NFR debut. It's such a monumental thing for him.
Yeah, and Buddy's one of those guys that is a veteran that's been around the sport. He's done it. He takes a younger guy, then they team up together. Yeahquo, a ton of talent on the front side for Buddy on the hill side. So it's going to be interesting to see how it shakes out. Look forward to sitting down and talking with JC. We get things kicked off with our ProRodeo props as we always do, and this one's going to be a good one that we started off with, Tracy. How about bull rider Josh Frost? This is a guy that has been chasing that world championship for so long. He's been close. I think 4 trips to Las Vegas now, but he's on an absolute heater. He gets hurt. I think it was, I can't even remember.
In Fort Worth. Yeah, it was at the Fort Worth Expos. He got nicked up and was out about a month.
Yeah, came back at the end of March. Since that point, $45,000 won since March 21st without a ton of rodeos on the docket. So it just shows, how dominant he's been. I think he was maybe 30th in the world standings as of 3 weeks ago. He's number 5 right now in the world standings.
And the thing that Josh has learned is he knows how to go to a lot of rodeos and pick rodeos where he can win money. And then you go to smaller rodeos and you win ground money. And there's the rodeo limit for bull riders is 125, which is essentially no limit. That's an insane amount of rodeos. And a couple years ago, I think he went to like 133.
Yeah, no, he pushed it.
So, I mean, he's got the ability. Then he goes to that many rodeos. And he gets on heaters, and he's one of the best in the world. I mean, he's been reserve world champion. I know last year, I think he's been twice, if I'm thinking right. And if things go his way, he's got a great chance. And we keep saying this on this show. If there's ever a year a guy wants to win the bull riding world championship, there's no better year right now. Stetson Wright, hopefully he'll come back from injury. Reigning world champion Kai Hamilton hopefully will as well, but they've been out for several months, and this is a chance to take advantage of that.
Yeah, you mentioned that just a little bit. In 2023, he finishes runner-up to Kai Hamilton. 2022, he finishes runner-up to Stetson Wright. Josh Frost is right there, and, maybe this is the year he does get over that hump, and it'll be interesting to watch. There's no doubt about that. In our short round segment, Tracy, one of the favorite things that we had a chance to cover this last season and created a lot of drama in Pro Rodeo is the PRCA playoff series, the Battle for the Governor's Cup in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Tickets are on sale and things are getting ready to rock and roll, man. I can't wait for that event.
Yeah, it's at the Denny Sanford Arena, the Premier Center there in Sioux Falls. They treated us. They rolled out the red carpet. It's a beautiful facility. The biggest difference is it's the last weekend of the regular season, the end of September. Guys like Mason Clemens last year won $28,000. He moved up like 12 spots and got in the 15. I mean, right there, that's the chance. That's your one chance. And they only take the top 24. And then you got to qualify down to get into the semifinal, the final 4. And there's so much at stake there. Everything comes down to that, especially if you're chasing the NFR bid. For other guys, it solidifies how much money you can win to get into the NFR. But I think it's a great concept. And $1.3 million is up for grabs there the last weekend of the season.
Yeah.
We've never seen anything like that. I mean, last year it was 1.1, but even before the Cinch shootout became a reality, it was never that kind of money at the end of the season.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where you see guys get hearts broken.
Yeah.
Last year, ultimately, it came down in the team roping to can we count the Cinch playoffs? Can we not? Ends up costing a guy a trip to the Wrangler National Finals. Another guy gets in. It just provides an extra element there that guys didn't have to used to worry about, leading all the way up to the 30th with that much money up for grabs. So make sure you get your tickets, cinchplayoffs.com. You can check it out there and pick everything up. We can't wait for that one to come down. Another on our short round, Birch Rodeo award-winning saddle bronc horse, Lunatic from Hell, Tracy. This is a tough story in pro rodeo because this was a horse that was still at the top of its game.
Yeah.
This was a horse that was still going to the Wrangler National Finals, putting up 90-point rides, and passes away on a trip to Clovis, California for the rodeo, and just heartbreaking there for the Birch family.
Yeah, I talked to Chad Birch, and they were driving from Gillette, Wyoming, where they're stationed, their ranch, and on the way to Clovis, he was going to compete last weekend, and the horse got colic. And they knew the horse was sick. They could tell the horse was getting sick. They tried to find vets. They did everything known to man to try to get help for the horse. They found different vets, and ultimately, colic is just weird. I'm no doctor by any stretch, but colic does different things to different horses. Some can survive it, some don't, and they lost him. He's 16 years old. He probably had at least 2 or 3 good years in him. He'd been to 9 NFRs in a row. He had a 92-point ride. Jake Watson won on him in 2019. He had countless 90-point rides in the regular season.
Yeah, I think Wade Sundell was really good on him a couple times as well.
Cody DeMoss won several checks on him at the NFR. Just a staple of consistency. Every time guys got on him, they were going to be getting a check at the NFR, and it's sad to see. And by talking to Chad, the biggest thing you take away if you have pets is they're part of your family.
Mm-hmm.
And it's wow, out of the blue you wake up one day and you're traveling to rodeo and then you lose a key part of your family.
Yeah, and an expensive pet nonetheless. We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars for these horses. So our thoughts go out there to Birch Rodeo. Also, Tracy, you had a chance to go up to Torington, Wyoming this past weekend. You went up there for the Steer Open. Not a big town, but a big event, in the National Circuit Final Steer Open for sure.
Yeah, they pay out, $55,000 the Steer Open. The guys that won it, Billy Good ends up winning it kind of out of nowhere. Billy's been to the NFSR a couple times, but never been the guy to beat necessarily. But he had a great time in Torington and ends up winning it. He wins almost $8,000. Scott Snedeker won $8,000 to $10,000. He was in the Final Four. The crazy thing is about that Final Four, they broke it down into that. They had 4 guys and only 1 guy got a time. And it's just bizarre. But they love the steer ropers in Torington. They roll out the red carpet. They have banquet dinners. They have dinners after the event on each day. And it's an event I love covering. It's at the Goshen Pavilion there, and they welcome them. And the steer ropers really appreciate that. Outside of the NFSR, and I talked to J. Tom Fisher, the 2022 world champion, he said this would be the most important thing I could ever win outside of winning a world championship. He came up a little short in the Final Four, but that tells you what it means to those guys.
Yeah, we talk about, rodeo oddities. That's one of the biggest ones I've heard. 3 of the best steer ropers in the world, Cole Patterson, J. Tom Fisher, Snedeker.
Yeah.
Just have to make it a clean run, and they don't. That's one of those ones that definitely is going to stick out as an oddity, and I'm sure Billy Good, he took advantage, got the job done.
Yeah, he was the second to last guy to go out, and he knew Cole Patterson. It's like all these guys. They knew Cole Patterson didn't draw a great steer.
Yeah.
They knew the steer had problems in other rounds, and he thought, if I get a time, I put it on the board, he's going to have to at least get a time to beat me.
Got a shot, yeah.
And Patterson got the rope on right away. He's like, oh, my God, we're going to win this. And the steer just got up. Just got up, and that's out of the Cowboys' control. You can rope them, and they get up, and it's just it's heartbreaking. I've seen guys lose world titles that way, and it's out of their control. But it's just a fantastic event. It's been the only host of the National Circuit Final Steer Roping since 2010, and they don't want it to go anywhere. It brings money into their economy, and the guys love it. And I love going to Torington. I don't think I'd ever say that in my life, but I love going to Torington, Wyoming.
Yeah, it's kind of up there. There's no doubt about that, but they put on a great event. It leads us into our 8-question segment, Tracy, and we mentioned you going up to Torington, obviously, so you had a chance to chat with a lot of guys. We're going to sit down with, one of the young guns in the sport, because this is a guy that, I believe he made his first NFSR at 20 or 19 years old. Do you remember?
Yeah, Slade Wood.
Slade Wood. So we're going to sit down and chat with him and I know that you've been following Slade's career for quite a while.
Yeah, Slade's talented. He's the team roping national champion in college, and he has a chance to defend that. He had a crazy story getting to Torington. We'll have more on that in our next magazine, just in terms of the adventures of cowboys. But he's a very talented roper. He team ropes, but he's usually steer ropers aren't that talented that young. Usually you don't start steer roping until you're like 25, 26. Even like Cole Patterson, whose dad's Rocky Patterson, a legend, he didn't really want him to start steer roping until he got a little older. So Slade's just a good guy, just a fun guy, and it's good for the sport to have young guns like this.
Yeah, and there's no doubt about it. Let's go right into our 8 questions segment with Slade Wood.
Favorite movie?
Probably 8 seconds.
Favorite restaurant?
Barbados.
Favorite horse you've ridden?
Junior.
What's harder, team roping or steer roping?
Definitely steer roping.
What's your hobby outside of rodeo?
I like to golf.
Describe steer roping in one word.
Challenging.
Favorite ice cream?
Cookies and cream.
Who would you choose in a tag team match in a wrestling if you were in the WWE?
Rodeo guy or?
Yeah.
Probably Slick Ellis.
And Tracy, I think you asked him which was harder, team roping or steer roping, and I would tend to lean on the side of Slade. It looks like it's tough to be a steer roper. Not everybody can do it, and you have to have the right horsepower.
A lot of people can rope.
Yeah.
The biggest thing I've noticed with steer roping, and I'm far from an expert, is just all the years that I've covered it, you just got to have great horsepower.
Yeah.
You've got to have the right horse to steer rope, because if you don't, not only are you not going to win money, you'll get injured. You'll get hurt. Like it's different than tie down because it's not as quick. It's longer. Like your horse has to know what it's doing, or you have no chance. And that's the biggest thing I've learned. And Slade had the horse of the year, Junior.
Yeah.
And I mean that's what makes him so good. Partly, I mean, granted he's a talented roper. So yeah, it's a question that people ask me all the time. What is it about steer roping? And I always tell them it's just the horsepower. The biggest outside of talent, every guy in the top 15 has talent. It's just the horsepower.
No doubt about it. And we appreciate Slade jumping on here on the Chute Bosses. We're going to take a quick break here on the show. We'll have much more coming your way. We mentioned on the back half we'll sit down with JC Yeahquo. We'll also have our ProRodeo Hall of Fame Spotlight, viewer questions, and so much more. Don't go anywhere. We're right back after this.
Cowboying is in our blood. Cowboying is in our bruises. It's in our rain-soaked jackets, in our calloused hands tested by barbed wire and rope, our mud-stained boots to the crown of our resist-all hat. You live out west for even the shortest time, and there's one thing you learn. You can't pretend out here. Resist all. We live it every day.
Back into the Chute Bosses here as we get ready for segment number 2, Tracy, and a bunch of good stuff coming our way. We're going to go down to Buck. I don't know what the heck he's up to, but we'll have a chat with him, ProRodeo Hall of Fame Spotlight, and then we'll sit down with Yeahquo, who's chasing a world title here in 2024.
Yeah, gold buckle dreams. I mean, it's just exciting when you see guys like this to have that opportunity. It's just extremely exciting.
Yeah, we'll ask him a little bit about his background growing up in North Dakota and eventually going to Oklahoma State with his brother and everything else that goes along with that. But we start with our ProRodeo Hall of Fame Spotlight. Trace, we always talk about people. We always talk about places. Let's talk about animals a little bit. We're going to throw this one way back for our ProRodeo Hall of Fame Spotlight. 1979 inductee, Old Spec. What do you know about Old Spec?
Old Spec is one of the best bulls ever. I mean, they had, I believe, 7 rides on him and 350 outs.
Yeah.
Just imagine that many outs. Most bulls we have today don't go for that many outs. Maybe 120 max. It's just incredible. I mean, I tour the Hall of Fame every day. I shouldn't say tour. I walk around it every day for my own personal exercise, and I've seen pictures of Old Spec, and he's a big bull, just big bull that most guys couldn't ride, and if you rode him, you were going to win rodeos. Obviously, he's considered one of the best ever if you go on the inaugural class of the ProRodeo Hall of Fame.
Yeah, that's what I was getting ready to say. He won the Best Bucking Bull Award at the 1959, 1960 NFR. But this was also a bull that, he had his first ride. I think it was Harry Tompkins.
Yeah,
was the first
who's a legend.
Yeah, legend in himself, but first guy to ever ride Old Spec. And then it was 3 years until somebody rode him again. So now this is a guy that, and a bull that was going and being at its best, Tracy, when we had our best in there. Those guys, Jim Shoulders, it was stacked with legendary talent.
I mean, back in the day, I mean, that's all those guys knew. They set the foundation for the greatness that is the PRCA today. But, I just can't even fathom 350 outs. I mean, those
rides.
Those guys are showing that bull would be at almost probably every rodeo, rodeo, because there wasn't, the schedule necessarily that we have today. And for an animal to be that stout for that long speaks about its durability.
Well, I mean, geez, he only bucked for 7 years. So 350 outs.
That's what
in
I'm
7
saying.
years.
Imagine the outs. How many rodeos is he going to?
How good's your math, Tracy?
Yeah, I don't do math. I went to CU in Boulder. I did a lot of things at math, but a lot of things in college.
7 times 5 is
35.
Which means he had.
I don't know. You're stumping me
Come
out.
on, bud. 50 outs a year in those 7-year careers. So it's
I don't need this today.
Yeah, it's one
Where's
of those
Buck
things
when
where,
I need him?
Yeah, 50 outs in a single year for a stock is crazy. That's going to lead us right into our Did You Know segment. This is another odd fact here, Tracy. Did you know that Jerry Olson, we've talked about Jerry. He's got that legendary picture of the buffalo and everything that goes along with it. But he was one of the very few PRCA card holders to ever make the NFR. Yeah. Then be selected as a bullfighter, and then win Specialty Act of the Year. He went from steer wrestling to bullfighting to being in the barrel. That's just unheard of in rodeo to have that many guys do that.
Just the talent to have to do that, though. Most guys are talented in one event, maybe two, especially timed event guys, but to transition into a specialty act, I mean...
From steer wrestling to bullfighting.
Because you just wouldn't seem like that would translate into a specialty act. To me, no. I mean, it doesn't fall into that niche that, he's certainly going to move on to be a
trick rider on a horse or
yeah,
something.
like something that you did that you could see relate to that. But there's that legendary picture we've run a few times in our website and magazine. That the big bison is up on the top of the trailer and he tames the bison. And, I mean, he's in the Hall of Fame now. So I wish I would have got to see his show live. It would have been cool. I mean, unfortunately, I wasn't able to. Yeah. But, it's just great guy.
Yeah, so he made the NFR 69. Bullfighter in 73, Specialty Act of the Year in 83. So quite the pro rodeo career there, the late Jerry Olson. It's time for our viewer questions, and we always want to remind you guys out there that you can submit viewer questions, and we want you to. You can do that by going to any of our PRCA social media channels. We got Facebook, we got X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, Instagram, TikTok. You can go there, submit the questions, hashtag the Chute Bosses, or you can go on our PRCA YouTube channel and just put Ask the Bosses, Ask the Chute Bosses in the comments, and we'll make sure to get them on the show here. But this one today, Tracy, comes from Tommy on Instagram. I know you probably know this. You know a little bit about everything about this cowboy, but what cowboy has won the most money all time at the Wrangler National Finals Rodeo? You got to think off the top. It's an easy one.
It's got to be Trevor Brazile.
It is. $1.9 million earned just in Las Vegas alone.
Yeah, 26-time world champion, obviously 8 in steer roping that wasn't in Vegas. But, if I'm thinking right, he was a reserve champion 15 times. So he's in the mix for 41 world titles. And he retired early. I mean, there's rumors out there that he might come back now that his son's getting older. That he might come back to team roping. That who knows if that transpires?
You're trying to fire up the rumor mill, or
what?
what?
Who knows? But Trevor's one of the best ever. I mean, I saw him up close and personal at steer roping, and there was no one better that I saw in person than Trevor Brazile. Anytime he needed to get the time, round 10. I mean, he broke Vin Fisher's heart. He broke Scott Snedeker's heart. It's like, that guy's up. I'm going to win it. And then there's Trevor Brazile. It's like the Joe Montana. It's like Michael Jordan. And he was just such a good roper and tie down and team roping. So, I mean, but just imagine you won almost $2 million just at the NFR.
That's a pretty nice payday right before Christmas.
Yeah, and every year he was getting a payday.
And I think, just looking at the list, Stetson Wright might be the next guy that could maybe get to that number. He stays healthy. I think he's got a shot. He's around that $1 million mark now. Sage Kimsey was up there as well, but I don't know how many more trips Sage will be making to Las Vegas for the NFR. So it's possible that gets broke just because the money is so much more now, Tracy.
Oh, yeah. It's gone astronomically ahead of what it was back even in 2013. So, I mean, if these guys stay healthy and go on a heater there, they can win tons of money, and you could climb up the charts just by one huge NFR. And before we forget, my Chute Bot Nation had a question.
Chute Boss, not Bot.
Chute Boss. Chute Boss Nation.
There you go,
they had a question to me, which I gladly answer.
Yeah.
I did try the Flock of Seagulls hairdo in the late 80s. And if you probably don't know.
You still got one flying up there.
Just the one wild hair right there. That's what I try to do, and I try to keep it real here with that. Try to keep my young look going for me, because Tanner's much younger than me, so I try to keep the young ambition going over here.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And speaking of this, you can see our Pro Rodeo Sports News magazine, Hall of Fame bound. You can get that latest edition. And one guy that will never be Hall of Fame bound, that's Buck. Tracy, it's about time for our Pro Rodeo Word of the Day.
He'll be the Hall of Shame. I know Buck's good at one thing, the walk of shame.
The walk of shame. Oh, boy. Let's see what he's up to. Let's go down to Buck. He's got your Pro Rodeo Word of the Day.
I'm Buck, official correspondent for the Chute Bosses, the official podcast of the PRCA. My word for the day is Austin, as in Rodeo Austin in Austin, Texas. One of our best rodeos in the PRCA. When it comes to Buck, I went into Austin and I thought I want to be a football player. The Cowboys signed me to a 10-day contract. I didn't know it was a 10-day contract to be a freak show in the gift shop. What is that, Cowboys? I don't need that. I'm Buck.
Welcome back into the Chute Bosses podcast, the official podcast of Pro Rodeo. And Tracy, we talked about it off the top of the show. Getting ready to sit down and talk with JC Yeahquo. And this is a guy that's kind of taken the Pro Rodeo world by storm. You know, we knew about him and his brother a year ago. This year he teams up with Buddy Hawkins, and they've been on a tear, man.
Yeah, I mean, they've won some huge rodeos. They're right in the mix. And, I mean, now it's gold buckle dreams. I mean, he's had such an outstanding season roping with Buddy. And, I mean, we're only into May right now, so who knows what they can accomplish.
No doubt about it. JC joining us right now here on the Chute Bosses podcast. JC, first of all, man, thanks. We appreciate you doing this. We know that things get a little busy during the late spring, so we appreciate you jumping on here with us.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
First thing we got to know, man, is, you know, your pro rodeo career has just been a steady climb every single year. You know, your $67,000 won this year is the most you've ever won, you know, so far in a single season. What's changed for you here this year, man?
Oh, I don't know. Just I moved down to Stephenville, and I've been around the best every day, and I think that's kind of sharpened me up a little bit, and every day I just have been trying to get better and still working at everything. I mean, just I don't think there's an end goal of trying to get better. I mean, every time I get on a horse or swing a rope, there's a purpose to it to try to get better.
What led to your connection with Buddy? Obviously, he's a multiple-time NFR guy, had exceptional success in the PRCA. What led to you getting connected up with him?
Oh shoot, I've always been pretty good pals with Buds. You know, I've always sat there, talked to him at the rodeos and stuff, and chit-chatted here and there, and kind of roped at a few jackpots. But I don't know. I just called him one day. He just had told me that he was keeping it pretty open, and I just said, well, shoot, I don't have a first partner right now for all the jackpots coming this winter. You know, maybe we could be first partners, and you could, you know, just keep your second partner, and we'll just rope and kind of rope with each other until we find our first partners. And so we roped all of October, November, December, and then we entered at Odessa and Denver, and then we kind of he decided that he wanted to rope with me. Yeah, I'm sure glad he did.
What's it like roping with Buddy? You know, you mentioned that a little bit. I've been around Buddy multiple times, and, you know, he's just a guy that always thinks out everything. You know, it's always in detail. He always has an explanation for you. What's it like being around Buddy, and, you know, some of the downsides maybe of it as well, you know, or downtime, I guess, of having a chance to sit down and kind of just hang out.
Oh, I don't think there's any downsides to it. He's awesome. He's an awesome partner, and you know, when I mess up, I'm kind of hard on myself, or try to be hard on myself and be disciplined. And Buds, he's just, hey, you know what? We got another steer coming up, so that helps a lot. You know, Buds, he's a winner. He's won everywhere. He's won every big major there is to win, and I think the only thing he lacks is a gold buckle. Other than that, he's won everything. I mean, that he's awesome.
So you team up with him, and then you win Rodeo Houston. I mean, I know you obviously guys dream of winning that rodeo. What was that moment like when you guys won Rodeo Houston this year?
Oh, it was pretty fun. But I try not to celebrate too much. I know it's a lot of money to have won, but I try to just consider it as every rodeo is just another rodeo. And, you know, whether it's 50,000 or it's 5,000 or it's 500 at the rodeo. I mean, I think a win is a win. You can't celebrate them too much. You can't get too down on the losses, but I don't know. It was a happy feeling that I had being on such a big stage. It's the biggest one I've ever competed at. And it was just awesome. You know, it was a great first experience for Houston.
And I know that, obviously in your pro rodeo career, the goal is a gold buckle. But, what have you learned the most just being out on the road and, just going through the ups and downs of what the sport of rodeo is?
Oh, I think rodeo is amazing. There's so many good people out there that are doing it, and they've all got so much discipline and such a hard work ethic for what they want to do in life. They wake up every morning, they know what they want to do and succeed through the day. And so to me, what I've learned is that no matter how hard I work, I have to work harder because there's somebody else out there that's working harder than me. And there's, every time I go to a rodeo, I'm like, I'm the worst guy here, and I've got to try the hardest. And so that's just that's been my mindset. I don't know if it's the right one or the wrong way, but just to me when I show up, it's like I've got to try my hardest to do the best. And so that's kind of what I've learned is that works for me.
How much pride do you take being Native American? We've had world champions like Aaron Sinigini and guys like that, Derek Begay, just being Native American and being in the PRCA and having a chance to get a gold buckle.
Oh, it's awesome. I think it's amazing to see everybody who goes out and does it, Native American or not. And I just love it. That my tribe back home, they're all such big supporters of me, and they keep up with me so much. So it's awesome just to see how everybody keeps in touch with everybody up there.
What's your favorite rodeo if you had to choose one? You've been around a couple years now. You've got to experience all the ups and downs of, what these rodeos have to offer.
St. Paul, Oregon, that when I was a little boy, I would set obstacles up in my dummy roping area, and I would run and I'd hit the dummy and I would jump over, like if I had a little cone or whatever it was. And so I've only been to that rodeo one time, but I went there 2 years ago. We buddied with the Johnson brothers, and I just went and sat in the stands, and I'm like, this is what all I've dreamed about is being a little boy, is just coming out here and doing what I love to do. Whether I'm winning or losing, I think you have to set back and realize that when you were a little kid and you were dreaming of doing what you're doing now. And to me, that's what living is. That's living to me, is getting to fulfill those dreams of being a little boy.
Was there any role models for you pushing forward to get to this point? Were there someone you looked up to that thought, I want to be like him?
No, I don't think so. Just because I never really kept up with rodeo much. I just, and even to this day, like I have to get better at watching the rodeos and stuff like that. But I don't necessarily say that I had a role model. I mean, there's a couple of guys that I would talk to quite a bit, like Nick Sartain, and I would try to keep in touch with him and ask what he thought I was doing right and what I was doing wrong, and Chad Masters, and those were two of the guys that I would talk to quite a bit. But as far as role models, I don't really think that I had a role model. I just tried to do what I love to do.
Now here's the pressing question for you: who's the better roper, you or your brother?
Oh, my brother, he is by far.
Is he? Wow.
He's so talented with his rope. He does amazing things. And I mean, we'll be roping the dummy, and I think I can throw my rope far, and he'll throw his rope from the end of it and just whip the horns, and I'm like, I'm doing all I can to get it there, and you're just whipping the horns. And I think he's got a lot more talent than I do.
What is life? I mean, we talk to guys about this all the time, but what is life like on the road? I mean, it's one thing that guys want to rope and guys want to be in the PRCA, but actually doing it full time and it's your job and you go to 100 rodeos and everything. What's that like for you?
Oh, I really love it. It's just such an adventure to get to go from one to the other. And then, it's nothing for somebody to go to 3 rodeos in one day. And so to me, that's awesome, because it's, you can do bad at one, and then the next one, you're just so excited to get to the next one. Or that's how it is for me anyways. And, I try to look at it that way, as like, I'm so blessed to be able to be in the spot that I am, to go to all the events that I can. And so to me, that's what it's about. I love it doing that way.
We don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but things are looking pretty solid for you to possibly make your first trip to Las Vegas this December. You know, what would it mean to you to back into that box for the first time inside the Thomas & Mack?
No, I don't know. I think that kind of goes back to what I said earlier. Is I think just every rodeo is just another rodeo, and I mean that's obviously the major rodeos, but I don't think I would change anything, and I would sure hate for my mindset to change if I was able to make it out there and venture away from what I've been doing my whole life. But I think that's everybody's goal who picks up a rope, is just to make it there. And so if I could even just make it there and finish out the year and continue to do my job, that would be just amazing to me.
Has it surprised you? I mean, I shouldn't say surprised, but you're young in this game, how competitive team roping is. A lot of people just don't realize how great you have to be just even win a check at a rodeo nowadays.
Yeah, it's crazy all that goes into it. It's so competitive nowadays. I mean, you think you can make a good run, and then you come back and like you barely get a pat on the back. You know, Buddy and I were 3/8 the other day at Angelo, and I'm like, hey, we made a good run. You know, we're gonna place maybe third in the round, and I think we split fourth and fifth. I was like, that rodeo, that's so crazy competitive, because we thought we made a good run, which, I mean, it was a good run. You know, I did a good job. Buddy did a good job. We made a good run. But as far as competitiveness, those guys just went over there and maxed out their steers, and it's amazing. Like, you know, it sucks to get beat, but then I love roping so much that, like, that's amazing that those guys can go that fast, and I'm just so happy to see it.
What rodeo are you looking forward to, hitting the road here? We know we got the summer rodeos coming up here fairly shortly. What's one you got your eye in, you got circled on the calendar?
St. Paul.
Okay, yeah, we're going back to St. Paul, huh?
St. Paul, that's one rodeo I told Buds I wanted to go to over the 4th. I was like, all the rodeos, I love all the rodeos. I said, I would love to go back to St. Paul. Like, that rodeo is so fun. And, we went over there. The one year we went, we placed over there, and I was plumb tickled to be able to do that. Like, out of all the back numbers I've ever had, that's by far my most favorite one. When we flew out of there, my good friend Daquan was driving for us, and he took us to the airport, and I got to the airport, and I'm like, hey, bro, can you go get my back number? Like, that's one that I want.
That's awesome.
So they have the trees in the arena, right, if I'm speaking right?
Yeah, they've got the trees in the arena. It's awesome.
You can catch one of those on a rope coming across the arena there.
Yeah. There is, I think, I don't know if it was Russell Cardoza, maybe in the video I saw, if his horse was jumping the tree as he was heeling the steer, caught 2 feet and dallied. I was like, that's amazing. That is so cowboy.
Yeah, that's some cowboy Olympic stuff right there.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, as we take a look, at your career so far, how do you think you got to the point you're at right now? We mentioned first year, I think you were somewhere around $10,000. Last year $60,000, this year $67,000. What's been that key to that progression?
Oh, like I said at the beginning, I think it's just trying to make yourself better every day. I don't really think anything has changed from my first year of rodeoing, other than I've worked every day at being better at roping, my horsemanship. All of that all just kind of funnels in to the end goal.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, going down the road, has there been one cool concert you've got to see, or one person you got to meet because of Pro Rodeo?
Oh, I think it's cool to meet everybody, but as far as concerts at Houston, it was so fun to sit on the buck and chutes and watch Jelly Roll. Jelly Roll was awesome. He did a good job at Houston, and that was a lot of fun. I sat on the buck and chutes with my brother and some buddies, and we just enjoyed the night, and that was a lot of fun to me.
No doubt. Well, JC, man, we can't thank you enough. We know you're busy. You're down in Guyman. Hopefully have a chance to run another steer, maybe make it back to the finals that weekend, but we really appreciate your time, man.
Yep. Thank you guys. Thank y'all very much.
Yep, there it is, JC Yeahquo, Tracy, and just a guy that his career is pointed so high, the trajectory is pointed so high right now that it seems like it's only good things can happen from here.
When you can see the ambition and positivity in his voice, I mean, it almost makes you excited when you just talk to him how excited they are to be a part of this dream of chasing the gold buckle, and you see young guys like this have the opportunity, and you go from toiling on obscurity, so to speak, to now you win Rodeo Houston and you're right in the mix to making your NFR debut.
Yeah, and he's one of those guys that he's still young, 23 years old, but he's so excited about everything that goes into the sport. You know, it makes you excited to cover it and, you know, see how these athletes' careers are going to grow. So, yeah, we can't thank him enough for sitting down and chatting with us.
Yeah, it's been great, and hopefully, I know all the guys you and I have spoke to, Vegas is Vegas, and it'd be great to see his nerves or lack of nerves or just the excitement of getting to be part of the grand entry and being part of the NFR.
Yeah, I can't imagine what those nerves would be like, that's for sure. But that's going to wrap it up for another episode of the Chute Bosses. We really appreciate all you guys tuning in. Make sure to check us out on our YouTube channel, the PRCA YouTube channel, or on all your favorite podcast platforms. That's going to do it for another episode. Until then, keep on rodeoing.